Everybody, welcome to the HopCast.
Thanks for joining us once again, everybody.
I'm Brad Chmielewski.
My name is Ken Hunnemeder.
And we're heading to Oregon in this episode.
A place that you and Maeve frequent very frequently.
Frequent.
A shout out, by the way. Shout out! You guys have some family out there, so it's a frequent trip for you guys to take in that area.
Yeah, so we're out there maybe every few months, really.
Mm-hmm.
Always picking up beer, trying new beer, bringing it back, bringing beers.
And of course, it's a really big beer area in general.
Oh,
so if you're going to have family somewhere, Oregon's probably a good place to have that happen.
Not a bad deal.
All right, so what do we have on the docket today?
All right, so from Deschutes, we have the 2010 Jubel. Right?
Yep,
Jubel? Yeah.
Jubel Ale. Once a decade ale.
Yeah. And then we have from Captured by Porches, we have their Dark Rye.
Cool.
So I'm kind of worried that 2010 could be a little past its prime.
Could be. We will see on that one. I know we had quite a buzz of an episode recently about overcellaring your beers.
And here we are, drinking a beer that we shouldn't have cellared this long.
But we never claim to have not done that. We're just trying to encourage people to not do that.
Right. And so I'd say maybe we start with that one, even though it's stronger, but it might not be as good, and we might want to finish with this guy.
Okay. Well, we'll take a shot on this Deschutes Jubel Ale, and hopefully it's held up. We'll see. If not, it's our own damn fault. That's just them's the breaks. We'll crack it open. We'll check it out.
Well, we're still carbonated.
Oh yeah, no problem there. So, and you saw it was a waxed bottle here, so that should aid a little bit. Whether it aids a ton is up for a debate. But it certainly looks nice.
Yeah, nice dark brown.
Yeah,
woody.
pretty dark. It's got that toffee-like amberish hue on the sides, but it's a dark. Seems pretty murky too.
Yeah. Not
really seeing through this beer at all. I think there might be quite a bit of yeast left in here.
Getting that like cardboard.
A little bit of oxidation, yeah, and but it smells like pretty much barley wine, like very, very malt forward.
Yeah.
Not a ton of hops as you would expect because this beer has been aging for a couple of years.
It still smells a little boozy too.
Mm-hmm. So.
All right.
Cheers. I think it's held up relatively well. There's some off flavors going on, not a ton.
Yeah, it seems like it's having a little bit of fight in the beginning. Like it wants to do something, and then it washes away differently. Like it's not.
There's some
an even transition. Of front forward flavors to the finish.
There's a pleasant caramel note to it. But then there's also a little bit of like that soy sauce characteristic that you sometimes get in a lot of big, huge stouts from the yeast just being overworked and just killing themselves. And
work themselves to death.
Yeah, you get a little bit of that in there. And then a little bit of that oxidation. Not overwhelmingly oxidized,
no,
but there's a touch.
It's mellowed out too. There's a little bit in the aroma there was that booze, but not in the taste at all.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty mellow drinker for. I mean, I think this beer, if I'm not mistaken, is upwards of 9%, somewhere around there.
It was 10,
9 or 10. So you don't really detect too much heat. But it's a substantial beer. There's a lot of malt character in it, so it's a full-bodied beer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I almost wish I would have had it fresh.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have one in your cellar still, pop it open. It's not getting any better.
That's the moral of the story on this one is I don't see this beer getting any better at this point. Would love to have tried one straight off the line,
Right.
just to see where it was, and because I've had this beer once before, but it was only maybe a couple months back, so not much has changed at this point, and it's kind of right where I had it before. Not much has changed at all.
That caramel is nice though.
Mm-hmm.
I see this pairing well with food.
Yeah.
I'm sure they had it on tap at the brew pubs.
So yeah, the Jubel Ale, Deschutes.
Cheers.
We will move on.
Ken, I feel like that 10% might sneak up on us here a little bit.
Yeah, it is a Monday night. I don't know if we'll see if I make it to work in the morning.
I was drinking beers all night.
That's work, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and move on to the Captured by Porches.
We'll drop our alcohol in half here.
Yeah, this. So dark rye beer that's at 5.6% alcohol. I've never had anything from this brewery before.
Okay. I've had a few things here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've been kind of around since 2002. They started as like a homebrew club.
Okay.
And just kind of transitioned to actually being a brewery.
Okay, cool. And they've got these swing top bottles here, as you see.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and swing them open. Yeah! Oh,
It's coming out.
and here it comes. Yeah! It's a party, Mardi Gras!
Well, we had a gusher.
Yeah, we did. Pop that baby open, and it shot all over my ceiling.
And us, too.
Yeah, I tried to fight it as much as I could, but it was no use. So the Captured by Porches Miskatonic Dark Rye Ale. Mm-hmm. If that doesn't scream an episode of Portlandia, I don't know what does. But this guy is pretty much looking almost like the last beer.
Yeah, I think a little thinner, like maybe a little lighter in color and a little not as murky.
Yours actually looks a little different than mine. Mine's pretty murky. I think I'm having the second half of this thing or
okay.
something. Yours looks a touch lighter, but a pretty dark beer, dark brown.
It is a dark rye. So.
It is dark rye, yeah. And the nose that I picked up on right away is that it's very, very spicy. Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of that like black pepper quality, and you have to attribute that to the rye. So they're using quite a bit of rye, I assume, in this beer.
You pretty much only get that. You don't get a lot of malt or anything else.
No, it's just straight up spice on this one.
Ah.
Cheers.
Nice. I think it takes a couple sips to get your palate attuned to that.
Yeah, it's nice. It's got a slight bit of tartness to it, and certainly a lot of spiciness in the finish.
Do you think the tartness is an infection or anything, or just that's?
I think it might be, but this might be one of those happy accidents because I'm kind of enjoying how it tastes. Yeah. It's not offending me at all. It may not be what they intended. I'm not sure, but it's really quite pleasant, at least to my palate.
Yeah, and at 5.6%, it's got a lot of flavor and a lot of mouthfeel going on. But yeah, that rye is strong. If you like rye, hunt this guy down.
Yeah, this would be one. Sometimes you get a rye beer and you have a hard time picking out the actual characteristic of that rye. This is one of those where it's pretty in your face, but not to a point where it's overwhelming. it's still in a nice balance with everything. I think, especially with this particular bottle that we have right here, when you have some of that acidity matched with the rye, they kind of play off each other, which is really tastes good to me.
And in true Oregon, Portland area, they are St. Helens, so they're not in Portland, but most of the beer is organic ingredients. And it does say on here that it's vegan, which I remember seeing that when I picked it up, and I was kind of like, why? Like, what am I drinking in my other beers?
There's no ribeye in this beer. Well, what happens with beers that are vegan, it's not really about what the ingredients of the beer itself is. I mean, obviously, if you're making a bacon stout or something like that, it's not going to be vegan. But what they do use in the process is these the fish gill finings, which actually they would use to clarify the beer. So essentially what they're saying is their filtering process is vegan.
Okay. But aren't most craft breweries doing that?
Most, I would say, are probably vegan.
Yeah.
But there are some out there. I know I like to go, when I'm out in LA, I like to go to this place, Tony Starts Away. Shut up! And they have, we've actually been there before together, haven't we?
Yeah.
And they have this whole vegan menu for their food, but they also, since their owner must be vegan or something like that, because they'll specify which beers on their menu are vegan and which are not. And most often than not, the one that you see is Bear Republic beers. And it's because they filter their beer with those fish gill fining techniques. So they can't be considered vegan, even though they adhere to the Reinheitsgebot. It's just water, yeast, malt, and hops, which are all vegan ingredients. But within the process, they have some fish.
Are they doing that for shelf life reasons? Or just...
Why you would choose that over another reason or another filtering process, I'm not really sure. I don't know too many breweries that do that.
Okay, because usually you hear about kind of them adding stuff at the end. It's for shelf life reasons in other foods, not just beer.
I would have to look into that. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
As far as I understood, it was just a different filtering process, and I'm not really sure. Maybe it's just they get a better efficiency out of it, and they don't care whether it's vegan or not.
Okay.
That could be the case. I'm not quite sure. But there's plenty of different filtering options out there. So I think most people don't use fish gills.
Right, I guess if you can avoid it, why don't you pick something else? Right?
Yeah, well, unless it's just really damn effective. I haven't really looked into it. I don't know.
Well,
so.
This is vegan. And
it's vegan and it's good. I like it.
But yeah, I'll have to bring back some more of their stuff next time I'm out there.
Yeah, I would be interested to try a little bit more and see if they have some of that same little character that's going on in this bottle.
And they do their own kombucha too. So.
Maybe that might be because there's a little bit of that tart kombucha type of thing happening here. They might have some infection happening there, but it's good though. It tastes good. So whatever, I don't care. Tastes good.
Cheers to that.
Well, yeah, cheers to that, and happy mistakes happen all the time, but and also cheers to you for watching the HopCast.